under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, thank you all for coming. And because of the amount of people and whatnot, we're going to open public comment. We're going to be changing things around, and we're going to have the turf field proposal right after the public comment. And then if you've got something else to say, you can do that, okay? And that way, and then we'll go on with the rest of the meeting. But rather than keep you all sitting here through all of our meeting, we'll get right to it.
Unless you all came for the rest of
Right,
it.
I mean, if
we
you
usually have such a crowd.
I was just gonna
Welcome to
say,
stay.
if you came for the finance
Welcome to
report,
stay.
Matt would definitely like to start with
Could do
that.
that first.
We don't have a problem with that, so. So I'm gonna open public comment at 5:31. If there's any public comment, please come up, state your name and what you're speaking about. Okay, so we're gonna wait for Aaron. Go for it.
I'm up right away, huh?
Yep, we're gonna put you up right away. Because from what I'm gathering, people wanna talk after the fact, so.
Okay.
They wanna hear your proposal.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Mr. McGowan and I, we want to kind of talk to the board about the potential for a turf field here at Winnacunnet. I put a proposal, and I think they'll put it in the board docs. So I guess the first question, I don't want to stand here and read this to you all if you've gone through it.
Right.
So I guess my first question for the board would be, have you guys had a chance to look at this? Should I highlight what we're looking for? What do you want? I don't want to obviously stand here and read 5 pages to you.
No, I think what I would like you to do is highlight what it is. As
Okay.
we know, it's not in the budget for next year. So
Correct. Yeah.
this is a starting block from
Starting
it.
block.
And
Yeah.
so if you can just give us a summary of
Yeah.
why, and if we've got costs associated or what you're thinking they are, that would be great.
All right. So I'll just start. So we're looking to turf the main field, the stadium field here. What that would do for us as a school, as a community, it would allow every athlete access to that field. As you know, playing on, any of you guys that have played sports, playing on natural grass requires a ton of maintenance. You know, when we're playing lacrosse, soccer, field hockey, those sports, goal mouths get torn up. There's divots, there's holes, there's uneven surfaces. So what we're looking at to start basically is an equal opportunity for everybody to have access to a perfectly clean, fresh, flat, well-lined, well-manicured, perfect playing surface. This will allow us more scheduling flexibility with the turf field. We will be able to get athletes out there sooner in the spring, whether it be the softball team gets out there and practices, baseball. Whoever is practicing in the spring, obviously lacrosse, will have access to a field before grass is ready when snow melts. Improved safety and consistency. Turf fields are predictable. They're flat, footing, drainage. They are safer to play on in all weather conditions. Community. So obviously having a turf facility would allow more opportunities for youth programs to use our field without worrying about damaging them. So all of the youth programs in town, Riptide Lacrosse, our Little Warriors field hockey, obviously Little Warriors football, soccer programs, HYA, we would allow, they could have access to these fields when high school events aren't going on. In the summer months, so what we've run into the last few years is because our grass fields are getting so much use in the fall with all the teams, so much use in the spring with all the teams, we need to let those fields rest. So in the summer, what we've been doing is kind of shutting down our main playing fields to fill in the holes, to patch things, to let the grass grow. So having a turf facility would allow us to shut those fields down while also allowing our fall teams the opportunity to do workouts on turf, again, without risking damaging those fields. In the proposal, I pointed out, you know, most of our neighboring schools in Divisions 1, 2, even 3 have at least one turf facility. Portsmouth, Exeter, St. Thomas, Oyster River, Pinkerton. If you go further, Bedford, all 3 Manchester schools, Salem, Nashua, Dover is building their turf facility. So we're looking to kind of get to that even level playing field as them. One sport in particular, I think, extremely benefits from a turf facility is field hockey. So for those of you who have watched field hockey, played field hockey, you understand that field hockey is a completely different game on turf than it is on grass. It's faster, it's smoother, the fields are bigger, and every year, Winnacunnet, as you guys all know, is a top 4 or 5 field hockey team for the last 20 years. And every year when we make the tournament for field hockey, we pay for them to go practice in Epping or to rent turf because tournament games are on turf. And it's a completely different game, so practicing on those is important. Speaking of tournaments, a turf facility would allow us to host tournaments in boys and girls soccer, in field hockey, in boys and girls lacrosse. The NHIAA limits really those big hosting events, Final Four events, championship events, to facilities with turf. Because again, if it rains and we're on a natural grass surface, the footing gets terrible, the field gets muddy. All that is in there. Maintenance, okay, so, maintenance with a turf field is going to be far less, okay? There's kind of 2 things you need to do. You need to keep up with the infill that's in there, and you need to tow a drive behind, like a greens groomer, which is part of the project. It's part of it would be part of the project when we do it. It's a one-time purchase. You can remove snow, you don't have to. The technology now, so with turf, is to tuft in the lines. So your field would be lined for football, soccer, boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, and field hockey up front. So they would never need to be painted. We spend a lot of time and resources painting fields. So the turf would actually be tufted in with those colors, those lines, never need to be repainted for the life of the turf. You can expect 12-ish years out of a turf field. The padding underneath it is a 25-year lifetime warranty. So in those 12 years, what you do is you replace the top surface of the turf. What else can I touch on while we're here? Environmental issues. So there's always talk of PFAS chemicals. They are not used anymore. So turf, the crumb rubber that is built into the turf is PFAS free. So environmental issues that have caused people to be apprehensive about turf over the last 15 to 20 years, those have been done away with based on the fact that they no longer use PFAS materials. Everything is 100% recyclable when they go and they remove the infill and they have to redo the surface. They repurpose everything. So it's a little bit different than what you may have heard of 10, 15 years ago in terms of an environmental issue. So again, we look at this, the installation of a turf field, it's not simply just an athletic, while it is a field, we look at it as something that's an equity and community investment. It ensures that all of our student athletes, regardless of gender, sport, have access to the same opportunities, facilities, and experiences. I believe, and I know a lot of people believe, it creates a safer and more reliable environment for both the school and community use. And so that's kind of where we're at. I'm sure there's a lot of questions.
Well, what's not in here is the cost.
Yeah, so
It is.
I thought Bill put the quote in there.
Okay, there's a separate attachment.
Oh, a
But-
different
yeah.
document?
Well, he
Yeah,
was-
so when we got,
I don't see a separate document either.
so
Oh, it's in another link.
I'll just say it and
Yeah.
hold your breath. No. So right now it's a little over $2 million to do the initial groundwork. They would provide the drainage. They would dig it up. Part of that also includes resurfacing the track. So that's one thing I didn't mention is in this project, we would take, for those of you that have been out there, we would take our high jump areas, the the pits where long jump is, those sand pits, and they would end up getting built into that empty area behind the end zones of the football field. And so that's what the schools are doing. And so we would kind of eliminate that back area that kind of gets overgrown with, and we wouldn't need to use that back area over by the woods and by the houses for this. So the high jump, all the track pits would go in the end zones. We would put netting up in front of the end zones that's removable for the winter. So that would allow teams like soccer and lacrosse to practice out there, and track to continue to practice so the balls aren't flying and hitting kids while they're on the track, right? Lacrosse balls are hard. So that's kind of what it is now. Depending on when you do it, the turf company Shaw and Rad Sports recommended every year it's kind of like 2 to 3% increase in cost that you delay building. So that right over $2 million was from probably 6 months ago or so, last spring, when I got that quote. So, obviously we'd be at least a year, 2 years. So it would be a little bit more than that, to be completely upfront, in terms of what it would be, depending on when or if it's something we decide as a community to move forward with.
How long ago did we redo the track?
Before I was AD, so this is year 8, so it's been at least 8 years. What is it? 2009. Oh, there you go.
2009?
I thought it was after that.
I thought it was after that too.
Huh? 2009 for sure? Oh. Okay. So at any rate, I'm told by my track people the track could be resurfaced at this point. And so that's part of the cost. What they do is, and our track as is right now is built for turf to be installed within it. So they wouldn't have to do a ton of groundwork around the track. They would resurface it. But the way it's built, I'm told, it's built to have turf installed.
Yeah, I mean, when we, hindsight's always great, but when we put the track in, we did talk about a turf field at that time, and probably should have done it back then, because we did design the track with the concrete curb.
Yeah.
As Mr. Booth said, the price keeps on increasing. When is a good time to install it? It's difficult, from a budget standpoint, things like that. So clearly, we spoke about it for many years. And how do we move forward? I think there's enough momentum now that potentially now's the time to move forward with it. But there is a budget attached to it.
Can you explain how much we spend right now in maintenance? Because you said.
Yeah, I am not in charge of our facilities. John is not here, right? Do you know, Bill, like what the...
I know for the grounds, it's for supplies and stuff, it's just under $100,000 if I recall correctly in the budget. And again, some of that is
for the fields,
some of that's just for the fields, but we also have all the all of the fields.
Oh.
The other thing too, I mean, Mr. Booth mentioned about maintaining the fields. We've gone through droughts over the last couple of years, so it's difficult to maintain the fields. We've been fortunate that we do have the pond that we pull, but that is salt water. So at what point can we not maintain the fields because we have water shortages? So,
yeah, and what this would allow, is particularly in the fall where everybody is out there, right? Like soccer, boys and girls soccer, field hockey, and football, all of our teams that use fields, they would be playing their games on this field. So we would set up the schedule in a way that rotates. Every team would have equal access to a rotating schedule of practice time out there. And so what it would do is it would severely lower the traffic on the rest of our fields. And moreover, if those aren't game fields, we then can kind of reduce that maintenance. They don't need to be lined 3 times a week. They don't need to be mowed so the maintenance, while it's still gonna be there, because we do have a lot of grass out there, unless we want to turf the whole facility.
Nice try.
That's not gonna happen.
A lot of schools that do that.
That's a curveball.
Sneak that right in.
Right. So it would allow us to kind of let those fields not have as much traffic, and we wouldn't have to stress it as much. I know me and all our coaches, like, we want high quality playing surfaces, and we're all out there working on fields, and we all chip in, and having a turf field for our games is something that would just really help us out. It would really make it true that everybody is playing on a high quality surface all the time. So
I see it, I see the benefits to it. I think it's gonna be a scheduling nightmare myself.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's, it is gonna be brutal, but I kind of disagree with the fact that we can kind of let the other fields go a little bit, because we still need we need to be playing and practicing on quality fields, and I don't want us to think, well, we can save some money on those fields. I wouldn't recommend that. I'd be wanting us to keep those fields,
okay.
At the highest they can be too, because I don't want my kids practicing, your kids, practicing on something that's subpar. Do you know what I mean? So I think kind of saying, oh, well, some of that money we still need to invest in that, in my mind.
I think it would lower our costs, though. I do think painting. I do think you would see not a $2.3 million decrease for sure.
No, yeah. And what are your thoughts on the fact that it's injuries on turf versus injuries on grass? When I do some research on that, I'm seeing that there are worse injuries that happen on turf rather than on grass.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on that?
My take is you could probably find 10 studies that say there's more injuries on turf than grass, and then you could probably find 10 studies that say the opposite. I think, I listed some studies here because obviously this is a proposal for it.
Yeah.
So I listed some studies here. After analyzing results from 22 studies, they found that the injury incidences on turf was lower than that on natural grass, natural gas too. I think one piece to keep in mind is I think if you're looking at professional athletes, at times they prefer grass. The force with which they are cutting and they are moving, their age, right? They're sometimes 30. I mean, Phillip Rivers is 45 or whatever, playing quarterback. They have a more susceptibility to tear ACLs. Whereas I think a lot of the data has shown that with younger athletes, 14 to 18, those injuries are less common. Their joints are more pliable. They clearly aren't, moving and cutting with the same force that a professional level athlete is moving at. And so, I'm with you. I'm sure, there's people that would say both. I'd be happy to have our athletic trainer come in and talk about what she's seen in terms of injuries. I know from across the state with the schools that have it, and talking with their athletic directors, none of them have seen increases from their eyes in terms of ACL tears or breaks and stuff like that. None of them have said, oh yeah, since we put turf in, we've seen injuries go up. Nobody has said that. In fact, potentially because it's such a flat surface, because there are no divots, potentially things, you could have lower risk of injury. But again, I don't want to misspeak or say anything that, but I certainly can see that. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I'm not a sports person by any means.
Yeah.
So when you say that the field by the Tracy Williams, Northampton, could be used for football and lacrosse and for field hockey, do you say that it's lined in different colors for each different sport? Okay,
Yeah. So if you, we don't have the presentation, but yeah, the schools that line them, right? So they, boys lacrosse is different from girls lacrosse, which is different from field hockey, soccer, and football.
Okay.
All 5 of those would be lined
Okay.
at once, and that's that's what Exeter does. Portsmouth, all these schools. And in your mind, without seeing it, you're probably saying, "Wow, I wouldn't be able." But you can.
The
You
athletes
can.
would know,
They
okay.
put up You put up cones and pillars on the corners of the field, of the lines you're using. You know, in lacrosse, the goals are in different places. So the lines that you're not using are, I mean, for the kids playing and the officials, they don't even see those lines. They see the field they're playing on.
Okay.
So while it certainly would sound confusing having not seeing it, but it's not for people playing on it.
Okay, and I also think, you said that there's, little usage in the summer, we're letting that field rest, so that if it was turf, you're saying that the community could be,
Well,
could utilize it during the summer?
So in the summer, our fall teams, and a lot of, like, they do optional workouts in the summer. Our soccer teams are playing in the summer. So per NHI rules, you're allowed to do optional workouts, field hockey, football. And so right now, like with our varsity soccer field, say, the last year, 2 years, we've discovered that staying off of it in the summer is our best bet to keep it so that it stays playable during the fall, because the areas of high traffic around the goals, midfield, they get completely dug up. And our varsity soccer field right now is also, in the spring, the lacrosse practice field.
Okay.
And so it never gets any rest. And our field hockey field becomes the girls lacrosse field in the spring. And so these fields are being used, whatever, a large portion of the year when there's not snow on them. And so in the summer, because of drought conditions like Bill mentioned, when things are dry, when the grass isn't growing well, if you're just constantly playing on them, they're getting completely dug up. And then what happens is fall comes, it starts to rain, those areas that get dug up are all mud. And so having a turf facility would allow the soccer teams, the football teams, the field hockey teams to do their workouts on turf in the summer. We can keep those fields rested and keep them, like Leslie suggested, optimal, and keep those working well.
And do the feeder schools in the different towns, would they have an opportunity
Of course.
if they could to
100%.
schedule?
We let them come in now. So
Okay.
Riptide Lacrosse comes in. Our youth soccer programs use our fields. Little Warriors football plays here. We do, we let middle schools come in for basketball. Like all of so that's something that we like to do, is let our feeder programs, our youth programs, our middle schools use our fields when possible. And I think having a beautiful turf facility would certainly encourage kids, and more people would want to use it, and we'd be able to let them because we wouldn't be worried about it not being playable for our seasons.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I have two questions.
Yeah.
Okay. The first being sort of related to the schedule.
Mhm.
Like, it's being presented as an equity thing, but I struggle to see how you can use one field for 4 teams
Mhm.
at the same time for practices and games. So how do you envision that?
So games, I 100% can make that happen. So say soccer plays on Tuesdays and Fridays. If boys are home, girls are away. So right there, you're flipped. So you have a game night. Field hockey games are typically Monday, Wednesdays, or Fridays. So you're split up there. Okay, so 3 teams. And then football is Friday nights only. And so game-wise, it would not be, to me, doing these schedules for 8 years now, that's the easy part. We have lights out there, so I can, if I had a 4 o'clock game, I can then have a 6 o'clock game, or a 6:30 game. Practices, so to Leslie's point, practices, not everybody is practicing out there every day. That practice schedule would be a rotation, okay? And that's where I would come in, that's where I would coordinate and just make sure that each team has their designated, 2 hours here, whatever it might be, to practice out there. And we would just do a rotation of practice time. We have lights. The fall is beautiful. I mean, people can be out there practicing till 8:30, no problem. So that, it sounds like a nightmare, but the whole job of an athletic director is usually a nightmare. So I'm used to it. I'm living it. I don't have an issue with it. I'm very confident that we can equally get people the opportunity to be out there. The game schedule, to me, is not a problem. like I said, I read you the list of schools, and that's just the ones I know of off the top of my head that were in my report, but they all make it work. And so I'm pretty confident that I can also make that work for our teams.
And then the second question was, you said it lasts for 12 years, so what's the expected cost at the end of 12 years that we'll have to keep redoing?
You know, I'm not. So I think, well.
Like, is
That
that
could
$1
be a good
million,
takeaway.
or is it $50,000?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we've seen what's happened with price. I think that would be hard to say what it would cost in 12 years. What I know people do is they create a fund, and each year they put money away in that fund so that when that time comes, they have the money to resurface it. It's not a complete redo. So they don't dig up the ground, they don't pull out the padding that's underneath it. It's simply the top layer of the actual grass. that-
New rug.
A new rug. They put a new rug. They don't need a new subfloor, just a new rug.
Can we do that, Matt, though?
Huh?
Make a fund like
Yeah,
that
so
to
you
put money
set
into?
up an expendable trust fund where you could set aside, you know, you'd have a warrant article on the ballot where we could set aside funds into an expendable trust fund. Also, from a cost standpoint, just to clarify, grounds maintenance specific to our athletic field is just under $140,000 a year, or budgeted for next year. Obviously, that is for all of our athletic fields, so that's not specific to this one field. Also, when we resurfaced the track in 2019, it cost $90,000. We're coming, as I recall, the lifespan of the resurfacing is
10 years.
9 years.
9 to 10
So
years.
we're coming up to that point as well.
So wait, it was 2019 or 2009?
2019.
Oh, 2019, okay.
So
I
could
just-
that be combined with this in the same warrant
The
article?
track,
Yeah.
it's part of the quote here is the track resurfacing. So that is, if we say 2.3 million, that's part of it right now. They would redo the track surface. Again, that's not
Yeah.
something they would need to dig up the track and redo the subfloor of the track. That's
Just
kind
a
of just
spray
ready
on.
to go.
It's a
They,
spray on.
yeah.
Still, for communications purposes, I think removing that out, because that's not attributable directly to the turf. I think that would be a little clearer,
Okay.
that's all.
And just for, I looked it up, Portsmouth High School, the turf replacement in 2023 cost around $650,000 to $900,000
Okay.
just to replace the field.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
pricey.
And I know they had an issue because they paid extra to have it recycled, and then it wasn't recycled. There was
Oh.
some issue there, so
Okay.
reading on that, so
Yeah.
I was trying to do homework.
I have a quick question, just to gain a little more clarity here on the in-house maintenance.
Yep.
Is tow behind greens groomer?
Yep.
Is that $4,000 cost for that piece of machinery?
Yep. One time. Yep.
And how long is that expected that those last you quite a while?
I would think that lasts forever. I don't. It's not a mechanical thing. It's just something.
Oh, it's
that
something that
gets
attaches?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's just
gotcha.
a tow behind. So I would think if you
Sure.
take care of it, it should last forever.
Okay.
Do you remove snow off of the field now at a cost?
We don't now. No. And you don't have to with turf. It's something that you can do if we got to spring and we got 2 feet of snow in April and we were in the middle of a season. Maybe we'd think about removing it, but you don't have to. It's not like the turf is going to wear out if you don't take the snow off.
Gotcha, just trying to help your cost.
So, I'm gonna, so money-wise, I mean,
Yeah.
as we said, it's not in the budget, and I guess maybe it's more for Matt, but is it something that we do and we send it to the voters for a warrant article? Do we do a bond for it? Do we do fundraising, a combination? What do you see as the best scenario if it moved forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options. I'd love for it to be fundraised.
That'd be awesome. Get your checkbooks out, people, let's go.
Right, everyone's in
So
support.
realistically,
You don't wanna
this
sell
would
my
be,
ground.
so we put this on the capital improvement plan. This is likely a separate warrant article. If we had a longer, and depending on the time horizon, right? So if you have a longer time horizon, you could do an expendable trust to set aside some money to eventually pay for it. If you want it sooner than later, it would likely be either
Or
the net
absorb
cost.
it, and so we're talking a
where
tax hit.
It would likely make sense to amortize it and spread the cost out and do a bond.
Mhm.
So,
How long would that be?
that being said, it's a 12-year life span, so you can't do a 20-year bond.
Right.
So,
So you're talking-
so you're
5 to 10
limited
year
as far as
operation.
how, you know, how long you can finance for.
Well, can I ask a question on that? If the installation includes the base, and then you only have to always replace the top layer, does that really limit the life to 12 years, or is it longer than that? Because the base lasts beyond the replacement?
You could make that argument.
Okay, so-
I frankly haven't looked into it.
No, I
I'd
know,
have
this
to,
is a conversation, so I just thought I'd throw that
so I don't know
idea.
for certain.
Okay.
But we would explore all those options, and it could be a combination,
Mm.
right? So you could set aside some money in an expendable trust. If you're looking to do this in, say, 4 years, you could do 3 years of smaller, set asides, and then do a large warrant article. If you're looking to do it sooner, you could do a bond. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be an operating budget expense. This would be it's a capital
Capital
project,
improvement, yep.
so,
Okay, thank you.
And then we'll take any fundraising.
Yeah,
That's anyone's. If we have a large benefactor
Right.
who's willing to donate.
well, I mean, because looking at it fiscally and having to, wearing all the hats of a board here, what's best for the students, what's best for the school, what's best for the taxpayers. So, granted, our school has an enormous amount of athletes, which is wonderful, that they are involved in the sports.
Successful.
Pardon me?
athletes. Successful.
Successful athletes, yes. But again, going to the town and asking for that kind of money, we just have to be cognizant of that, it's, there are some towns that are already struggling, most towns, so.
Yeah.
But that will be down the road to figure out, so. Do you guys have any more questions for Aaron at this point?
No, excellent report.
Thank
Thank
you.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
So what I'll do is open it up to public comment, if anybody wants to add anything or ask any questions.
I'll add something.
Okay, come on up.
Hi, thanks. So my name is Greg Kula-Harris, resident of Hampton Falls. I have a daughter who's a sophomore, who's on the field hockey team, and one that's a freshman on the field hockey team. So just a couple things as I was overhearing, some of the talk about injuries and so on. I just wanted to add a couple things just from a couple different viewpoints. So field hockey specific, like Aaron was saying, is meant to be played on a flat surface. When it's on an uneven surface, you get bad bounces. I've seen some pretty bad injuries where the ball pops up and hits one of the girls in the face. So that's not good, obviously, right? So all these sports that they're talking about are played, at the next level on turf as well. So I think that puts our athletes a little bit at a disadvantage. The ones that are good enough, that have aspirations of playing, at the next level. So, I think if we were in a situation where we were talking about, our students and their facilities and them being at a disadvantage for the next level of higher, of college, I think we'd maybe look at it a little differently and say we don't want our kids to be behind, the rest of the other kids that are, doing these things in college. The other thing is, as far as the injuries go and the studies between turf and grass, so I'm also for the last 6 years, a high school football official. So I've officiated games in, let's see, probably 40 schools around the state. I have personally, now I haven't officiated soccer or lacrosse or field hockey, but I have seen far more injuries happen on grass than on turf, far more. Like Aaron was saying, it's just the surface is unstable, weather conditions greatly affected. I've been out on a football field where in the first half it's dry, it's great. The dew comes in after the sun's, down, and it's slick in the, later on. Some kids change cleats and, get better footing. So I've seen some pretty bad injuries. And so I think, from what I've seen, the injuries are less on grass. The other thing is, field hockey specific, there are 18 teams in Division I. 12 of the 18 currently play on turf. So I think that puts our athletes at a disadvantage because most of our games, almost all of them away, are on grass. The playoffs, I'm sorry, on turf. The playoffs are on turf. So, I think some of these schools, they're on their second iteration of turf. They've replaced it already once, so they're 10, 12, 15 years into these turf surfaces. I know Portsmouth, Exeter, Nashua have all replaced theirs recently. So I think turf's the future. It has been for a while, so I feel like if we don't do it now, we're just kicking the can down the road. Everything's going to be turf very soon. So whether we do it now or we do it later, it's something it's just going to happen. It's just the way it is. So those are my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Figure we'll keep up with the field hockey theme. Kate McAfee. I am from Hampton Falls, and I have 2 daughters, one that plays field hockey now and one that has graduated. And I strongly support having the turf field. I worked at the University of New Hampshire for over 20 years in facilities and operations, and I, over that time, saw turf fields go in, and I can't tell you everything about outline the advantages to safety, to field use, to equity. I saw all of those things at the time I was at UNH. I agree with everything Abood said. The one thing that I don't think we've touched on yet is because we're the field hockey team here is such a premier program, we have colleges coming to look at these players all the time. If you go to the championship, the Final Four, which we're routinely playing in, you can find 10 college coaches in the stands, D1, D2, D3. They're looking at these players. Now, if you have a really well-resourced kid, so the premier, the top field hockey is turf. These coaches in college do not care about seeing a player on grass. That is just how it is. It's slower, it's not skilled. They want to see these kids play on turf, which is why they go to these final games played on a turf field. Now, and your family can't afford to have you join the club or pay for these special camps and clinics, they are not getting looked at by these college coaches. And these are typically the same kids who, if a coach saw them play on turf and could get them in that pipeline to go to one of these great schools, I mean, there are a lot of New Hampshire schools, and they could really be a resource and a help to this kid who now would have the opportunity to go to college, who maybe wasn't getting looked at before. So I just think, to me, that's one of the things that we haven't talked about is you're giving these kids a resource, these kids who maybe aren't as well resourced, a chance to get looked at by colleges. And I'll tell you, in the 6 years I've had a daughter involved in the program, I would say I honestly could think of a kid I've seen like that every year who I thought, that's a shame. Like, she could have gotten picked up by a college, gotten some money, gotten some real money to go to school, who never went because we play on grass. And it's such a bummer to see that every year. And I guess the last thing I'll say is when I played at Winnacunnet in the mid-90s, we used to have one game a year. We used to play Exeter on the football field. They used to line the field and lights, and I still remember that. My girlfriends and I still talk about what an awesome time that was. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Good evening, Jim Zolkowski, resident of Hampton Falls, but a dual role here. To speak quickly as a parent, but I'm also one of the principal owners of ELM Services. So on the specifically to the experience I have with ELM, we work for multiple school districts. throughout the New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And the sports, the turf fields that have been implemented in most of these districts that we're working for, the scheduling issue or the perceived nightmare that Aaron will have definitely works itself out. There's a tremendous benefit to being able to rest your grass fields while you're implementing a turf field and all the benefits that have already been spoken about. I have 6 children, one of which is a freshman. 5 have already graduated from Winnacunnet. The value there, well, Heather has to be thanked for a couple of those children, but nonetheless, so the freshmen will probably not see the benefit of this field, but this is a can that's been kicked down the road for many, many years. I remember being here, maybe 15 years ago, while this discussion was being held. Those costs have only gone up. 15 years ago, this installation would have cost $1 million. The resurfacing would have been $150,000. Now, you're up over $2 million. You're upwards of $500,000 to resurface these things. So, this can is just continuing to be kicked down the road, and at some point, we need to figure out a way to stop it, because it is the future for all the reasons why everybody else has already spoken, or who spoke tonight about competitiveness or whatnot. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tina Fowler, Hampton Falls. I have 3 children. 2 have graduated, and I have a junior this year. So my 2 boys played soccer here. 1 played baseball, and the other played lacrosse. So lots of use on the field. And I have a junior daughter who is playing field hockey, swimming, and plays lacrosse. So all 3 are playing in college. My junior has already committed to Division I. Turf fields are definitely the way to go. Both my son, who plays lacrosse in college, and my daughter, who will play lacrosse in college, are on turf fields. I was coaching here when the track went in, and you have to give the voters a chance to vote. The track had fallen behind. We hadn't run a home meet in 3 years. So when it came up as a warrant article, it passed on the first time through because Winnacunnet had fallen behind. We're sort of there with the turf field. Most schools have turf fields. I can tell you, and Aaron can attest to this, my daughter likes to shoot, so she makes him take the net back out so she can shoot. Right now, you have a bunch of girls driving to Portsmouth High School to use Portsmouth's field. They should be able to use their own field. And they can't do that right now because we don't have the field for them to use. It just shouldn't happen. So I would say, give the voters a chance to vote. This community is really supportive of their athletes, and they're really supportive when the school has a need. Right now, the school has a need for a turf field. So I would just put that out there. Like, the voters are really, really supportive of this school and these athletes. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
There we go.
Carly.
Hello everyone, I'm Marley and I'm an 11th grader here at Winnacunnet High School. So just from like an athlete's perspective of this whole turf field, I think that's a great addition to Winnacunnet High School. All of these field hockey parents have some of the best players I've ever seen in my life. The Winnacunnet soccer programs have amazing players that go D1, D2, D3, amazing athletes all around, and I think that we need to utilize these fields a little bit more to help harness that power. Not only would a turf field help with our endurance and our quality of play, but also, like they talked about, we're at a disadvantage where I know for our quarterfinal games, we had to go to Seacoast United to play on a turf field because we were playing at Bedford, and they have a turf field. So it's little scenarios like that where I think that a turf field can really help elevate our play and our quality of play. Because I don't know if you know, but turf is a lot faster than grass. So when I'm practicing 5 days a week outside on the grass and then I go and play at a turf game, I'm at a disadvantage compared to the other girls. And like I said, we have some of the best athletes I've ever seen in Winnacunnet. That's not me being biased, but it is true. I think that we have great athletes here that power should be harnessed. And hearing these parents, and I know these coaches have talked about this turf field, they truly care about their athletes. And I think that that's something very powerful that you guys should take into consideration when you're making your decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Marley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Ryan Francor, Hampton, also teach here. I'm the football coach. Thank you very much for listening to Mr. Boo tonight and everybody here. We really appreciate it, getting the attention on this. Only two things I wanted to add were we looked at the numbers of if you took the sports that would be able to play on the turf field and you crunch the numbers of how many kids played on those teams the last years. If you take that number and we don't have the turf field, 41% of our kids have access that could to the field currently. All right, so if you take all the teams that would play on the field with a turf field,
Okay.
all right, if you take all those teams that would and that number and put it together, and they say we don't have a turf field and we just keep the grass field, 41% of that group plays on the field. So just to give you an idea of the amount of kids that would be able to get access to it. And I thought you made a great point as well. I just want to reemphasize, I totally agree. I think we should give the voters a chance to see what they have to say about this. I think we'd have really good support for it. So I know some of you are hearing this for the first time or second time or kind of processing it, and we appreciate that. But I know a number of people here, I'm sure Mr. Abood, we'd be willing to have as many meetings as we needed to have to, make people feel whatever they need to feel about it. So I think this, giving the voters a chance this year to say yes or no to it, I just think we should see what they have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Alrighty, then thank you for coming. We've listened, and at this point, it's an information thing. There's going to be no decision made right now, so, but we appreciate the turnout and everybody's comments. So thank you very much, and we're going to move on with the rest of our meeting. Yep.
Want to close public comment?
Yeah, and at this point, I'm going to be closing public comment at 6:18. All right, Sadie, Winnacunnet Pride.
Alrighty, so Student Council is hosting a Show Your Holiday Spirit Day on Tuesday, in which students and staff are invited to show off their own holiday spirit the day before holiday break. That same morning, before school in the cafeteria, Student Council is hosting a hot chocolate station in which students and staff can buy hot chocolate and then get free toppings provided by Student Council. The freshman class is currently doing a winter holiday giveaway fundraiser, which ends on Friday. Recently, on December 5th, we had our Culture Matters event here at Winnacunnet, in which a Colombian band came to perform for us students. The Warrior Trading Post, which is our school store, recently reopened and is now available for students on Tuesdays and Thursdays during our B and C lunches. Recently, on December 3rd, our spring musical auditions took place for Mean Girls, and the Winnacunnet Music Department also had their community oven fundraiser on December 8th. This past Thursday was the Winnacunnet Holiday Concert, which was a huge success. And sold today during lunches were our Chamber Singers Carolgrams, in which our Chamber Singers will be going around during 5th block on Friday and Monday, delivering those. Last week, our Animal Action Club had a supply drive in which all items were donated to local animal shelters. Our Lit magazine recently had a holiday card fundraiser, which ended yesterday, and our winter sports are just starting to pick up steam and are having their first official games of the season.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Busy time.
Very busy time.
I heard the community oven event was amazing.
Yes, I heard it was a good turnout there.
Right.
Yeah,
Not gonna miss that next time.
it's awesome. Thank you. Next, we have the student recognition.
So I'd like to present Madeline Carrero. She has been chosen as the U.S. Senate page for Senator Hassan, so she's here to
Gonna move this down. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. McGowan, for introducing me. Thank you guys so much for having me today. So just to reiterate, my name's Maddie Carrero. I'm from Seabrook, New Hampshire, and I am a junior here at Winnacunnet High School. and so I applied to be a U.S. Senate page for Senator Maggie Hassan. I applied mid-October, and then the Tuesday before break, or that we were let out, I got an email from Mr. Mannett, Senator Hassan, staff assistant, and I was told that I got the position. So I am one of 30 kids in the United States to go this spring semester from January to June. I will be living there. I will be going to school. I will be working at the Senate. So, so to apply to be a page, I had to have some requirements, obviously. So I had to be a U.S. citizen. I had to be 16 years old or of junior status. So it's specifically for juniors in high school. Minimum of a 3.0 cumulative GPA, and then some other requirements regarding health. So as a Senate page, I'll be working on the Senate floor. So per the page website, I'll be delivering correspondence and legislative material throughout the Capitol building and Senate buildings, preparing the chamber for Senate sessions, working on the Senate floor, assisting with roll call votes, support during debates, and carrying bills and amendments to the desk. I'm very excited for the opportunity. I've received a lot of support here from the Winnacunnet community, especially Mr. McGowan, Ms. Couture, and then Ms. Waterhouse, my guidance counselor, Mr. Handwork, my ELO coordinator, and Ms. Amy Hansen over there, who I got to work with sophomore year through our extended learning opportunity to actually explore a little bit more about politics. So yeah, I'm very excited for the opportunity. I'd love to.
Thank you. That was amazing. So that's incredible.
Yeah, you blow me away. But
Thank you.
So you're one of 30. Can you just tell everybody how many people applied? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. All I know is that there's a lot of juniors in the United States.
Thousands. Yeah.
I don't really know how many people applied, especially in New Hampshire specifically. I don't know. I didn't ask. I just kind of look at the positive side that I was chosen. I got an interview. I went through the whole interview process and all of that. So I don't know how many people actually applied, but I do know that only 30 juniors got it. So.
And where will you live? And how do you continue your education here?
So there's some social media policies that I have to kind of abide by, but I can say that I'm living in a dormitory with all of the other Senate pages. We will be going to school there. There's a school like in the basement. It's all accredited.
I think I just tell people there's a school there. There's a safe basement. You're good.
There is a school there. I will be taking all of my core classes, so I will be on track, hopefully, when I come back senior year. And they have like a student council there, which is going to be really fun. And yeah, so I will just be living there. I'll be living there with the other Senate pages. It's separated by floors. We'll have curfews, all of that stuff. We have field trips on the weekends. So.
And so you're there till June?
I am there until June 5th.
Okay, so we would like to book you for August.
Yeah, right.
And we'd like you to come back and tell us all about it. Yeah, give her July off, that's all.
I would love to come back. I'm bringing a camera, so hopefully I'll have some pictures.
We would love
I'd love to
that.
come show you it. So.
We would love to follow you through this, so if you ever want to even send something to us, it would be awesome.
Absolutely.
We would.
Teresa, I was gonna say, she's somewhat restricted on what she can share.
I start school at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
Gotta get
9:45, I am out of school, and I'm going to work in the Senate right after that. So.
Wow.
Yes.
Good for you. Congratulations. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much. Yes, I will enjoy it.
I'm very excited. Can you just say thank you to your family for supporting you as
Oh,
well?
yes.
They didn't get
Over
acknowledged,
there.
but that makes a huge difference. I think we also should say thank you to Maddie's family for supporting her. It's a big undertaking for a family and brave to let them go.
So I'd like to thank Michael Carrero. I'd like to thank Jessica Carrero. I'd like to thank Abby. I'd like to thank Emily, who's hopefully watching. I'd like to thank my grandmother, Janice, who is also watching. Marley Eaton and Kenzie Goldberg, my best friends, who've been very supportive through it as well. So I have a very supportive community here at home and in Winnacunnet. They're all very proud of me.
Way to
Well,
go,
we're very
Warrior.
proud of you. It's amazing. Congratulations.
We'll watch for you on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, now we know somebody.
Yeah.
We have connections.
I love it. Well, congratulations and best of luck. Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation. Linda. Okay.
Hi, I'm Erica York. I'm a resident of Hampton. I was really excited when I walked into a really full room of people, and then they all left after the turf because I thought they were going to hear my plug. My shameless plug. I am the incoming president for the Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation. I know I was here very briefly last year and kind of introduced myself, but now I'm here to stay, so I figured I would do it again. I was on the Hampton PTA for 5 years. I was the large-scale events co-events coordinator with one of my fellow events coordinator, Jessica Seversky, who is also a PTA retiree and has joined me in the Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation, which I'm really excited to have. With that being said, this year since I've joined, or since last year that I've joined, we've actually added 6 new members to our board. So we are definitely energized. We all come with a lot of fundraising and community give back experience, and we're really trying to expand our growth in terms of how we are presented to the community. We have an active Facebook page. We now have an Instagram page. We also have a LinkedIn page because we really want to connect with our alumni. I'm saying "our," but I'm a Portsmouth High School graduate, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say "our," but I'm going to because I'm a Hampton community member. So we really want to engage with people in the Hampton community, but also past grant recipients. So we're basically kind of coming to you all to get out there, get noticed. This past fall, we had 9 grant applications. We had 7 that were approved, and only 2 of those grant applications were student applications. We awarded just under $18,000 in grants. In year-to-date, since our inception, that's just under $143,000 that we've given in grants to students and staff. Our next set of grant applications is due February 15th, and we really want to grow that number. You know, we really want to focus on innovative and educational grants that focus on students and teachers in the Winnacunnet community. And I guess as this new energetic president here, I'm looking to all of you to figure out how we can get in front of parents, teachers, students. We really want to amp up the number of applications that we're getting, and without that exposure, I'm trying to figure out how we can do that. So that's my question to the board.
Our website, we could put a link on our website maybe?
Okay.
Could we?
So that's already been done. We
Oh.
want to be in person in front of people. We want to be at incoming parent night. We want to be at every single opportunity where we can say a 1-minute speech. Here we are, we give away a lot of money. Your students can apply for grants. I know a lot of students here who have applied for grants that have gone on to careers in that. I remember 2 young ladies that have gone on, they applied to do the Mr. Fox, like, whatever you call that, the composting thing, and both of those girls graduated and went on and got PhDs. And they're doing work in environmental science. So they're very passionate. Grace Cushing and another young lady who just got her PhD. But the point is, these kids, like, this is such a huge thing for them to apply for a grant. We had a young lady last spring that brought in a famous Winnacunnet chef and did this whole cooking night.
I remember that.
And what a great opportunity and learning experience. This ELO program we have, I cannot rave enough about it. At the experience that we're giving our students. But we're just trying to, like, I just know from a PR and marketing perspective that when we are in front of parents and you say it again and again and again, and you give 1 minute of time to say, this is who we are, this is what we do, we'd love to have your involvement. then people go, I want to be part of that group. And that is how we've grown this group. You know, we started putting in recently daily announcements, but just whatever events are going on, setting up a table, or just giving a 60-second speech to curriculum night, or incoming parent night, or, I don't know, not seniors, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Yeah. I know there's a bunch of clubs here at Winnacunnet. I have a 7th grader who is going to be coming here. Jess has a freshman as well as a 7th grader too. So, you know, we aren't necessarily in this realm yet. Well, Jess is more so than me, but I know that there are a lot of clubs here. So when clubs are advertising, you know, you think of something that's innovative and educational, apply for a grant. The Culture Matters that you talked about, Sadie, that was actually a grant from the Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation in 2009. So that's a great example of a grant. It was tested, it was an innovation, a one-time grant, and then it was built into the curriculum. So we have money. We want to give it away. We want it to, you know, grow in perpetuity and be able to give experiences to our teachers and our students, you know, to have great opportunities. So anyway, that's just kind of where we're at. We're really trying to brainstorm, get creative with stuff, but you know, as a parent, my kid doesn't always come home and tell me everything that there is there. And every single person I talk to about Winnacunnet, I say, do you know about the Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation? And they say no. And then I take the opportunity to tell them about it. Whether it's somebody I meet downtown Portsmouth, somebody I actually met at a bar mitzvah, I said it. I basically tell all of my friends about it, which is how I got 5 friends to join me, because they were like, wow, this is really awesome. This is something that will benefit not only our kids and their experiences, but when you have people who are volunteering in this manner, it's, you know, for the growth of it, for the longevity of it, being able to give back. So,
well, we appreciate the cause, you know, the efforts and all of that, totally. I think it's something that we can talk to the administration about and see, like you say, the things that, the parent-teacher conferences, you know, like having a table there, those kind of things, graduations, games even, things like that. But we could put a list together and get back to you and give us some ideas. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds great. And it doesn't have to be large scale. It can be very small scale even to start.
Okay.
We're just
You have the student
trying.
government.
So
I know. Right here.
I remember.
Resource.
A couple years ago, I remember, Bill, we talked and we said, you know, we can't get anybody to apply for grants. And so I think we said, could we come to a staff meeting? We came to a staff meeting, and Phil and I stood up and we talked about it. Guess what? I think that spring we got, I don't know, 10 grant applications.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard. I think sometimes it has to do with timing, and sometimes the staff can be stressed. But we also want the students to say, hey, I have a cool idea, or I want to do this, right? We had a young lady apply for, she wanted to go on like a field trip to do a big biotech field trip, and we funded that. We did fund that in this fall grant round. So that's going to be really cool, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like growing more student awareness for this, along with the parents, I think would be very strong, because I know, speaking as a teenager, like, our parents tell us things and we're like, oh yeah, whatever. So I think getting in front of students would be a great idea. I know, like, for example, like when the freshmen come to high school, we have our Fresh Start program when we have activities fairs. That's when all the clubs come together, and freshmen kind of go around, they see what they're interested in. And we have a lot of students here, up and coming freshmen, you know, all grades, who have really great and creative ideas that I think if they knew about this opportunity, they would definitely utilize it. So I think getting in front of students, I know our classes, like our class advisors, have like mandatory meetings for us, like during word block sometimes. It's like a 20-minute time. Usually we talk about like fundraisers and stuff like that, but if you guys were able to get in front of the class for, you know, do like your 1-minute spiel, like you said, I think that would be really beneficial, because I think it's more that, not that students don't have the ideas, they just don't know about this incredible opportunity.
We also, at our board meeting this past month, we had brought up the idea of maybe we could create a film of some sort of info film and have it at part of the Fresh Sem. And then it could be like a little unit on Friends of Winnacunnet, a very short unit.
Yeah.
but you know, basically the ins and out of it, and we're trying to streamline like our grant application process, make it more easy to understand, and also we just developed a grant impact statement that we're going to be requiring of grant recipients, where they fill out a form and say, how did it go? Tell us what you learned. You know, how many students were impacted? And we need 3 photos, please, of grants in action. So the board is really working hard.
We've also We've also moved to the Google Docs, so that way it's a lot easier to be streamlined. You know, we can track things, we can save documents, and we can measure success, which I think is a really important part of the program. So we've definitely moved into the digital world with this. And, you know, we're really looking forward to this. Like I said, you have 6, and myself, really, you know, energized board members that really want to make an impact. So, Sadie, I really love your idea. I would, you know, love to connect with Bill and Meredith to see how we can make that happen. Because I do think you're right. I do think it's most impactful to become in front of students, and they may have an idea that they may think is so small, but it could make a huge impact, and it very well could be the ideal perfect grant. We had a student come to us and asked for goofy skateboarding, and it's incredible, like, to see the research, the proposal. It's not even just the grant, it's just the whole process of putting an application together and doing the research and putting the proposal that is also an educational experience for the student that will serve them well in the future.
And that particular grant, we were blown away by that young man's passion. All of us were blown out of the water. That particular grant I know it's become part of the curriculum now. It's incredible. I think he's a sophomore.
I would connect with the ELO coordinator too, because he works with, I think, a population of students that might have projects and ideas that would want grants too.
That sounds great. Thank you for entertaining my questions.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you
and
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Go Friends.
Look up campaign.
We have math teacher Jay Miller. Are you doing it by yourself? Or
I guess I am. I'm
We
Jay
have
Miller.
we
I've
have Julie Hall
spoken
back
to you
there,
guys
too.
before. Julie Hall's also here. We are here for the Lookup Club, and we're the advisors. 2 years ago, we stood in front of you guys because we, as a faculty, some of us realized that the phones were an issue in schools. And I see, Leslie, that you have your sticker on, the Unplugged Challenge sticker on there. Because we...
And then my phone was dinging. I felt it.
That's what I saw you reacting
I was
to.
like...
That's all right.
Sorry.
So we did do the Unplugged Challenge, which was a Friday without phones, and it was very successful. And the following year, being last year, we got together and created a club called the Lookup Club, which our mission is centered around us being committed to building a culture of connection with the students. And we are trying to educate the kids in terms of how to manage without the phones for the day. Lo and behold, as we all know, the law went into effect shortly after the school year. We had done last year a Screenagers showing, which is a movie that was produced that we got a license for through a grant, and we presented that to the community. We had a community showing in the auditorium. It wasn't really well attended. However, I think it opened up some eyes to the parents, and there was some great communication and conversation centered around cell phone use. And again, then the law came about. So we've had to shift our focus a little bit into, how do we deal with life and cell phones outside of school a little bit. So we're trying to educate the kids and the parents a little bit more about, how we can live life without being connected directly to our phones. As a parent of 2 teenagers myself, I see that the phones aren't used in school, and my kids are doing pretty good with that, to the best of my knowledge. However, I do feel as though when they get home, they're a little bit more distracted by the phone. They're kind of compensating for the lack of use of cell phones in school. And that's a constant battle, and I think all their parents are having the same battle. So we I know Mr. McGowan actually informed you guys, I believe, that we're doing another screenager showing on January 22nd at 6 o'clock. Actually, we're doing two. We're doing one in here for elementary and middle school, I believe, and then we're doing another one for high school parents and students in the auditorium at the exact same time. Our hope is that, you know, we have a good attendance that night, and we can then do a different screenager showing for the second movie, which has to do with the mental health aspect of screens and all that, and go from there. So we just wanted to make you guys aware that we're doing that, and you know, see how it goes.
How are you advertising through?
So tomorrow, I believe we're getting out to put the posters out to the sending schools.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much the way we're gonna advertise. We'll do the advertising on the signs again.
Yep, okay.
We're reluctant. I think last year when we did it the same way. We were reluctant to kind of go out into the community and post posters, you know, in non-academic areas, because we didn't want, you know, certain groups to come out and kind of ruin the events or anything like that. Because it was, you know, it was a hot topic, right? Very controversial, it still is. But I think, you know, maybe now after hearing people talk about it and knowing, hey, this is what's going on in the school, maybe it'll open it up to more people wanting to have that conversation around cell phone use. Maybe they'll have questions for us, maybe, you know. I think it's a good initiator to the conversation, right?
Okay,
So.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Are you in any social media postings about it? So we can,
I haven't, what's that?
okay,
After the holidays at this point.
okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you weren't even gonna go there.
If you go too early with it, then, you know, people will forget about it, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on the sign until like a
But
week before. 2 weeks
certainly,
before, whatever.
certainly getting the posters to the sending schools is necessary, so as parents, especially before the holidays, as they're coming in to withdraw their kid from school or something, you know, it's kind of a good time to do it.
Yeah, so you'll put posters up in the schools is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Basically, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
And
just
then-
thinking if it's worth it putting it in the town libraries.
That's a good idea.
Just, libraries are a good idea, I mean.
Not all
there's-
parents come into the schools on
Right.
a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
So they're unlikely to be seen there, but certainly, principals in each school could be asked to send notices home, and obviously I can't speak for SAU 90, but I'm sure they would entertain that as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I know
Put it out.
Mr. McGowan's had conversations with the principals
we've already
already, you know,
Okay.
so.
But yeah, I think maybe the town libraries would be good, and the rec departments.
I think that's a great suggestion.
Because the rec departments too, because like the Seabrook rec, Hampton rec, you know, you've got the parents and the kids, and they, from the little ages up, so that might be a good one too.
Yeah, it is alarming when you see like 4-year-olds having a phone in their
Oh
hand.
my God, and
in
they
the
already
supermarket.
like
Yep.
swiping, I'm like,
Yes, it's terrifying.
Yep.
yeah,
So.
okay, great.
All right,
Thanks, Jay.
thank you.
No, because I take the phone away.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Right
I
away.
don't know, ladies, I remember having an 8-track, you know, tape movie
Yeah.
player in my van, you know, hooked between the 2 seats, so
Oh,
I,
jeez.
you do
Yeah.
what you gotta do.
You do. Minutes, can I get an approval of them, are there any, first off, are there any changes or whatnot that need to be made? No?
No.
And could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th, 2025.
Thank you. All those in-
Seconded.
Perfect, second, yeah. All those in favor? Thank you. SAU reports?
Sure, I'll do a less than 1 minute version.
Mark
Policy
it, set, go.
Committee is scheduled to meet January 6th. Recap of all of the legislative impact from last year. Budget Committee finalized their vote on the budget just earlier this week. SST had an open house about a month or so ago now for students from across the region, high school students and incoming high school students. And they are hoping to offer an electrical program beginning in the fall of 2026, and that will be contingent upon the outcome of their March vote in the Exeter Cooperative School District. So that's exciting news, a great addition to the programming they offer. Student leadership team met today. We went to Primex and had a great training. Sadie could have spoken to that. we lost her already.
Oh, I didn't even see her leave.
With one of their trainers who does work with municipalities and school districts and public works and police and fire across the state. So, she had great feedback for the students, including, telling them she'd like to take them on the road show because they have great insights and were very articulate. So, nice to hear. Vacation is right around the corner. We have an early release on Tuesday. Schools will reopen January 5th. Also coming up in January will be another legislative roundtable. I believe we put a save the date out for that, which will be confirmed in January, but we're looking at January 27th, I believe. And then March elections will be coming up. The filing period for those opens January 21st for open seats and runs through January 30th. And for the Winnacunnet Cooperative, the open positions will be school moderator, a 3-year term that is currently filled by Chris Munns. Cooperative School Board, we have 3-year term currently filled by Tricia O'Keefe. 3-year term currently filled by Desiree Potter. A 1-year term for the Budget Committee currently filled by Neil Ravine from Hampton. A Budget Committee seat from Hampton Falls. A 3-year term currently filled by Jill Swayze. And a Budget Committee seat from Seabrook. 3-year term currently filled by Laura Carty. So lots of opportunities to get involved and support your community. That's it. And we'll pass to Mary.
Thank you.
That was pretty good.
Thank you very much. Nice to see everybody. Wasn't that really exciting, hearing about the student, our student Paige, who's going to go to DC?
So cool.
Last summer, I had the opportunity to visit DC, and Senator Hassan provided my family with a private tour of the Capitol, and the basement is actually cool. There's a train down there that they take from one side of the Capitol to the other. She's in for just a treat.
I've been on that train.
Yes, I got to ride the train. It was like so cool. And you can't talk on the train, and you can't have your cell phones on the train.
Oh, I love that.
Do you know I was on the train with Senator Gordon Humphrey?
Wow.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Aging yourself.
Do the math, go ahead.
All righty, so I have one item for you tonight, just talk about last school week was Inclusive Schools Week celebrated across the nation. It's an opportunity for us to showcase our commitment to inclusion, celebrate differences, build connections, all of those great things. This year's theme was Children First. Principals were provided with some information about spreading that message, ensuring that our kids feel welcome and supported, routines are in place, and that we ensure that our students, especially those with disabilities, feel seen and meaningfully included. As I was walking down the hall to come here this evening, there's a big banner and poster from the Best Buddies program spreading all of the inclusion messages. So it was really nice to see that, and just happy to share with all of you this opportunity to be reminded of the importance of the work that our schools do each and every day to make sure that everybody feels a part of the team. So thank you for that. That's it for me this month. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Thank you.
Principal's report?
Okay, I'll be pretty brief also. In this area of special services, we recently completed the annual Indicator 13 review, and that focuses on ensuring appropriate transitions for students moving to post-secondary opportunities. There's several criteria that we need to meet. We need to be 100% in all of those. In the past 2 years, 2023, 2024, we've achieved 100% compliance during the initial review, and we should get the state feedback for this fall's review sometime in the end of January. We recognize the student. We have received several donations. We received $104 in gift cards from John Terrell, the St. Vincent de Paul Church, to support Winnacunnet students in need. The Granite United Way donated 24 winter coats valued at $1,100, also to support students in need. Burke Bennett, the American Legion Post 35, donated 6 baskets valued about $350 for the annual Winnacunnet Thanksgiving basket distribution. And this year, thank you for all the community support. we donated about 65 baskets during Thanksgiving.
That's great.
And then the Groundswell Charitable Foundation, U.S. Venture, care of Stephen and Christina Boyd, donated $328 to support Winnacunnet students in need. And we also received from Dress for Success $1,100 in gift cards to Kohl's and Dick's Sporting Goods for students in need. And then we do have one that we have to vote on.
Great, thank you.
Wow, nice.
And then the year is going by very quickly. We have early release next Tuesday. We come back to school on Monday, January 5th. We've got the music department bingo night on January 8th. Talent extravaganza on January 13th. Halfway through trimester 2 parent conferences on January 15th. So it's, I'll stop there.
Yeah.
But so far it's been a great year, and we're looking forward to the year.
Bless you. Bless you. Awesome, thank you. Thank you. Finance report, Matt?
Thank you. So I have posted the November, November, December, right on the cusp, year-to-date revenue and expenditure reports in board docs. Overall, we do remain in stable financial position, and we are tracking well at this point in the fiscal year. On the revenue side, we've collected approximately 25% of the total budgeted or estimated revenues to date, and that is consistent with the timing of, assessments from the town, the appropriation that we receive, as well as other revenues that we typically get at this time of the year. On the expenditure side, we are roughly 37% of the approved budget to date. That does not include encumbrances. When we do include those encumbrances, it's closer to 95%. And that level of spending, it is appropriate for this time of the year. There are a few areas that we are continuing to monitor. I think I've noted previously, where we're always looking at our special education costs, health insurance, which we had under budgeted, so that was expected to be over, as well as the buildings related expenditures. As always, we will continue to monitor those areas and all areas of the budget as we progress through the fiscal year, and then look at where we could potentially have savings elsewhere in the budget if we do go over, and if necessary, we do have the expendable trusts to utilize if needed. I also want to note that the Budget Committee has completed their work on the FY27 proposed budget. They did vote unanimously to recommend all of the proposed warrant articles and the recommended budget. So there will be a public hearing scheduled for January 14th. That's at 7 o'clock here in the Winnacunnet Lecture Hall. Following that, we have the deliberative session, which will be held on February 5th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. And then once that budget is finalized, it will go to the voters on March 10th at our annual election. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Do you have any?
Anybody questions? No. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Well, I had one question. It was about the discussion we had on the turf proposal. I thought I heard some comment about the timing. Is it possible that we could put that to the voters this March, or does it require a longer loop and would have to go next March?
Yeah, I mean, typically for a project of that scale, it's a longer process where we want to. I mean, we've got one quote for the project. We'd want to.
We'd have to put it out to bid.
Include.
Wouldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, we
have
can
an
do
idea?
anything as far as a warrant article, but we prefer to get a locked-in number before we put anything on the ballot. But more importantly, we really would want to engage the community, get feedback, look at exactly what we're trying to accomplish, how we would fund the projects. We'd want to include it on the capital improvement plan, have the capital improvement plan committee at the municipal level weigh in on the project, and really get that buy-in and get the community support before we just put it out there. Now, that wouldn't preclude us from putting forth a warrant article. That's allowable as a school board, but usually there's more thought. You know, this was the first step in moving it forward, and there's a lot that goes into selling it, because just like you were informed tonight as to what the pros and cons and what the turf field could bring to Winnacunnet, we would also want to inform our member communities as to those same things, and really get it out there, because it's a big ticket item, and if we were going to do it, we'd want to do it right and make sure that we get that support.
Great,
So,
thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
As a newbie, I didn't quite know the process. It felt a little rushed, but I wasn't sure.
This was so this is essentially the first step in informing the board that, hey, this is something that we're interested in, and then we'll go from there. So,
Thank you. Right now, we have the award of bids for the HVAC upgrade. Sorry, just stand up there.
Wondered where you were going.
I know. Did you need a break?
So the bid process has concluded for the proposed HVAC replacement project. As you know, we do have a 20-year HVAC replacement cycle in place, so we do have annual warrant articles. I say that, but some years we do skip those warrant articles. For example, last year, because we had the large roof project, we skipped that year. So bids were sent directly to 9 qualified vendors. 6 attended the walkthrough, and we did receive 3 bids. So we are recommending award of bid to Ericalian Plumbing and Heating, so that's APH, and that's in the amount of $274,600. That's for the units. So, as you know, we do have a proposed warrant article for the entire project, and that will be on the 27 on the ballot, and this award is contingent upon voter approval. However, this only consists of a portion of that total cost. The total cost will be $497,581, because that includes proprietary work from other vendors, significant controls. As you know, we've had some controls issues here at Winnacunnet. We currently have 3 different types of controls: Basics, Anderson, Siemens. So we've been transitioning to Siemens, and we've had some failures over the last couple of years where we've had to make replacements. Additionally, there will be some roofing work and air duct cleaning. So for this award of bid, we are asking asking the board to award the bid to APH for the $297,000. When we go to the warrant article, it's $274,000. When we go to the warrant article, it's $497,000. So that's where that disconnect is as far as the cost. There's a large controls piece of the total project. A little wordy there, but I hope if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, so Matt, I do have a question. You have a long-term career in procurement. There's a pretty large variance between each one of these proposals. And do you have any concern that you're getting everything you need and at the right quality, or did somebody not read the spec the way you presented it?
Yeah, so I'm comfortable with this bid because the 2 low bids are within a margin of error. That's
close enough. You know, it's, you know, $25,000. There is one outlier. They did bid on a, you sometimes see that where, you know, maybe they have enough work and they're just throwing out a high number in the event that they get it. We see that on occasion. But
I've seen it all. So
we work a lot with APH and Palmer and Sickard. We're very comfortable with both of those companies. So the fact that they came in closer makes me feel very comfortable with this.
All right, thank you.
And I will also note that we had engineered drawings with specifications. So all of these bids met those specifications. We reviewed the bids and qualified them. So as far as the actual project, we're very confident. So.
Any other questions? Alrighty, and can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to award the HVAC upgrade bid to Arcalian Plumbing and Heating in the amount of $274,600.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Thank you. We appreciate it, Brian. All right, we have an acceptance of gift.
We received a donation from Ashley LaCroix. It's a piece of equipment, a Make Block Laser Box 400-watt CO2 laser for engraving, and that will be used by the students in the Winnacunnet Transitions Program, and it's valued at $4,300.
Beautiful. That's a nice
What does
piece.
it do, Bill?
Engraves, it's
Oh.
engraving, you know, as far as
Oh, like awards?
awards, computers, I mean, whatever you need to engrave.
Okay.
And the Transitions Program, they're actually overseeing the school store, so we should be able to use some things, you know, make some engravings for the school store.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Does it engrave in glass too?
I don't know.
Somebody did at one
Inquiring
point.
minds want to know.
Somebody did do it on glass at one point because I had an old WHS
Yeah.
glass mug.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So hopefully maybe the store will bring them back. That'd be cool. All right.
Well, gotta accept a gift.
Yeah. Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Motion to accept the donation of a Make Block laser box valued at $4,300 from Ashley LaCroix for the Winnacunnet Transitions Program.
Can I have a second?
Can second?
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you very much, Ashley. Appreciate it.
Cool.
Continuing business, we're gonna have a Portrait of a Learner update. Yeah, I know.
So we have a brief presentation we're going to give you. We recognize the time of the evening, and I will say that the presentation we did prepare, you'll appreciate, was actually like 63 slides. And we cut that down to 30, but I promise you, tonight we're going to go through those 30 slides really, really quickly. 2 sentences per slide. All joking aside, we did a lot of work. Aaliyah Raymond, who's an English teacher here, did a tremendous amount of work. She just completed, congratulations, her CAGS program. And this was part of a project she's been working on throughout her CAGS program. And we are very grateful because I think we're coming up to a year now that the Joint Board approved our Portrait of a Learner. Is that correct? Do I have that timing right? And since then, we have been discussing at Winnacunnet, how does this connect to our school growth plan? How are we looking at assessment? And that particularly from you as a board last year came up as a question. Now that we have adopted the portrait, how are we assessing ourselves in making sure that we're accomplishing what we said we wanted to accomplish for our students? And so I posed that question to a number of staff members through our embedded PD rotations last year. And Aaliyah was one of our staff members who kind of grabbed that project and said, okay, let's try to figure that out. She worked with Jay Miller, who was here earlier, talking about screenagers, and Matt Long, who's our ELO coordinator. And so what they did through their embedded PD project last year was come up with a way that we could essentially audit. How are we doing? Let's look at the Portrait of a Learner documents, what was approved
approved by our joint board, look at all of those indicators and descriptors, and develop a way to assess it. So what they did is created a rubric, and they had to do a lot of translating for that. The Portrait of a Learner documents, although very thorough and well representative of all of our community, our students, our staff members, of what they want to see as students leave here at Winnacunnet and graduate and move on to the next step. We didn't really have a lot of guidance as to how are we going to make sure that we're accomplishing that, and then recognizing where we're not doing enough, and how do we incorporate more elements in our school-wide curriculum and activities. So that's where they started. They created a rubric, and right away we recognized that the language in the Portrait of a Learner, thank you, the language in the Portrait of a Learner documents really spoke to how our staff, from a staff perspective and educator perspective, what are we providing for opportunities to allow students to engage in those indicators and those descriptors. And so we switched gears a little bit, and we thought, okay, well, before we do a rollout and before we really can provide a detailed assessment on elements of the portrait, we got to find out what we're doing well already. And so that's where this idea of an audit came in. And Leah and Matt and Jay really brilliantly thought, okay, let's put together some Google Forms for each of the 5 themes, asking specific questions about each of those indicators. And without further ado, Leah will do a better job explaining the details, and then she's gonna talk a little bit about what we've learned so far. Actually, before I hand it over, I'll just mention, we did do one rotation of embedded PD for trimester 1. So every single staff member has been through at least one trimester of embedded PD so far. Because we had to split efforts and not everybody engaged in this Portrait of a Learner audit, we did have to do a few other things through ED 306. I know Mr. McGowan has talked about that at length, and more information on that will be to come. So we are going to continue to work on this audit throughout the year so that we can get more voice. But you will see in the 4th slide, if you want to pull that up really quickly, so far, these are the staff in the departments who have participated. This is sort of the spread of how many voices we have heard so far from our staff. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we conclude the presentation, but I'm going to hand it over to Aaliyah to talk about the details.
So I was struggling with trying to figure out how to get presenter view working, so I'm just going to leave it like this. Is this big enough for people to see it, or do we need to make it full screen?
A little bit bigger.
Yeah, Griffin, how do I get presenter view to not copy up there? Sorry.
Thank God we have Griffin.
Okay, so we're going to start off with academics. There are, I believe, 3 descriptors for academics. So for the first one, essentially, through strong tiers of support, there are many options for student choice in varied instructional approaches, and those are all listed up there. Our biggest area for growth is more alignment with scope and sequence within departments, so that is something we could work on in the future. For collaboration, strategies and events both in and out of the classroom provide many opportunities for collaboration, but increased frequently could still be implemented. That's something we could just be doing more. For the third one, rigor and challenge. Once again, strong tiered support and individualized pathways create opportunity for rigor and challenge, but finding ways to reach kids that don't or aren't really willing to access the supports is still an area of growth for us. So that's academics. Any questions on that? Okay, then we're going to jump into mindsets. So for purpose and initiative, there are, once again, so many supports and strategies to give students what they need to take action. but reminders of these supports and strategies, and then encouraging students to try independently before adult intervention is our biggest room for growth. With resilience, there's adult support and modeling in a variety of settings to support this, and ways to receive and implement feedback and try again. So that's pretty strong in our revision and retake policy and giving quality feedback. But we could give students a little bit more instruction in tools and methods so that they can be more independent. With problem solving and curiosity, the student-centered instructional strategies and class content geared towards problem solving allow students to practice this descriptor. And more explicit teaching and self-reflection could be increased in this area. And for self-reflection and innovation, there are many opportunities to think about mistakes, often with adult support and try again. But something we could possibly do in the future is make reflection and revisions mandatory and more frequent. All right, so that was mindsets. Any questions about that?
I would just say one thing on feedback. Once the school shifted to whatever the portal thing is called, I feel like kids stopped getting written feedback on like essays and all those kinds of things. And I don't know how that happened, but hopefully that's
So, do you mean Google Classroom or PowerSchool?
I'm saying like once all the grades were going in, I would say, well, where's your essay? I don't know. Did you get it back? No. There's a grade in PowerSchool.
I mean, I can speak personally just to my own practice as an English teacher, and I know that there are other people in the department that do this. I don't know about other departments though. I give checklists for every assignment. I mark off the checklists, give them the paper copy. I also will write a private comment on the Google assignment and then add comments in the document. So it's going to vary from teacher to teacher, but I do a mix of digital and paper, but that's kind of its teacher preference. But yeah.
You should role model that.
I did learn it from some of my colleagues. So, all right, physical and mental wellness. So for organization and time management, once again, a lot of adult support with building these skills, but giving grace when needed, and some flexibility. And once again, we have the idea of making sure that we're allowing students to build independence with these skills as they navigate different teacher and department expectations. That's kind of an area for growth, is just trying to find that line of not too much support, but not enough. And so with stress management and mental health awareness, once again, ample adult support with building these skills, specifically provided through relationships. And one thing we can do is monitor the existing systems as we continue to build relationships and connect students with resources, because there was some feedback that the number of students who need the support is rising and may strain the existing systems.
Is there any underlying root cause for that?
Local or national?
Yeah.
Thank you, good question. Are they both the same? Similar? Is it economics?
I mean, the Surgeon General called it a mental health epidemic for teens not that many years ago, right? It is a challenge across the board. This is believed to be, under multiple research studies, a contributing factor, but it's not the only factor, for sure, and we definitely see the impacts here. We're fortunate to have kids who are involved, by and large, in a lot of activities and who are connected to adults, but that's not true for every kid, and there's work to do in every community, including ours, to better meet the needs of students in that realm.
Do you incorporate trauma-informed practices and guidance around this area? Yeah, because that could make a big difference.
Yeah. Okay. And I would say, and we can continue to do even better with that, right?
Thank you. So this is the category of empathy. So there are lots of strategies that encourage discussion and listening through content. So there's strategies that encourage discussion and listening, and then there's also content like literature, research, and perspective taking that builds this skill. Adult modeling and relationships are also instrumental to this, and there could be more explicit instruction and norms as we continue to amplify diverse perspectives. And then with mindful technology use, we've been doing well with explicit instruction and expectations around citations, credibility, digital literacy through provided technology like the one-to-one Chromebooks, while also balancing some analog resources. And something we can do is incorporate the indicators for this theme into the technology competency rubric, because English has a technology competency that addresses a lot of this stuff, but maybe not all, so that is something we could take a look at. And just continue our work and adapt as technology adapts.
I have just a comment on the, we worked hard to do the one-to-one initiative, and there's now, we're getting feedback and not just locally but nationally on, are we now changing one screen time for another screen time? And I just would like to know if we ever have any data on changes when we went one-to-one versus not. Like if it's something that is measurable or not. Do you know what I mean? Because you do hear about it, you read about the studies and all of it, and it's like we've told them to get off their phones, but then we're handing them a tablet saying, but get on this at an early age. And is it still as beneficial as we think or we thought or not, I guess? That's something that I think we need to kind of look at.
Yeah, I think we're starting to pay more attention to that as we are further and further away from the COVID era as well, because not only the one-to-one certainly put us in the right position to allow a student to engage digitally and for our educators to use digital content to really enhance curriculum. And COVID really forced us to use that medium, right? And now we are recognizing that there needs to be a better balance to shift back to some really heightening and highlighting the in-class participation, collaboration, some of these other mindsets. We can begin to bring back ways to practice those without the digital support. And so, but also recognizing the importance that the digital content plays in curriculum. So I think we're kind of swinging with that pendulum and trying to find the sweet spot so that we could be cognizant of what you're describing. We don't want to trade one screen for another, but we want to recognize the importance it still plays in curriculum. So
I think beyond curriculum, right? It's important for students as they go out into the world, right? They are going to be using digital tools as a part of their future. They use it as a part of today. But they also need social skills and interpersonal skills and the ability to think deeply and critically and not rely on
in cursive or whatever. I mean, there's things, but it's like there are, and I guess that's where I'm reading these things, that it's like we've become so digitalized that yes, the interpersonal relationships suffered. So, and like you said, I think we're far enough out of COVID that we don't have to rely on it 100%. Right. So.
Well, until the next COVID comes, because let's not be mindful that could happen again.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think we do. I mean, I think it varies from class to class, content to content, but what we can do based on this is survey the teachers. How often do you use this and in what areas? So we can probably get information.
Yeah, it would just be nice to know that if and from the teacher's perspective too, has it enhanced your productivity and the benefits to the students, or how are you seeing it now? Because I think we've had it long enough that we should have some data to either support it or not. Do you know what I'm saying? Just because I think it's out there and there are a lot of areas that are questioning it. That's all.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same feedback. But I would also add that as an extension of that, remote work is having the same challenges with people who are working longer than they used to because they can, and they're not taking breaks and getting offline and la la la.
But those are adults too with different brain development, so we have to think about
Fair enough,
brain development and how it's impacted.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that all we use is Chromebooks. That's not right. I know that. So I was just curious at this point, where we've had them long enough. Do we have any data?
Yeah, and I read a book over the summer. It's called The Anxious Generation. So it's not necessarily the technology itself. A lot of times it's the social media and all of the stuff that comes with it. So definitely, I am also personally in my practice trying to balance technology and analog. But it's not necessarily just the existence of a Chromebook that is causing the issues. So.
one-to-one with middle schoolers over, 15 years ago now. I don't, you know, there are other challenges, right, that we face currently that weren't necessarily there, and using technology and using any tool, right, responsibly, knowing when to use the tool, when you don't need to use the tool, that's part of growing up, and we do have to be conscious about it and mindful as we're working with developing brains, right? They aren't the same as our fully formed adult brains. A lot of it starts really young. You were talking about 2 and 4-year-olds, right, who are swiping on devices. It starts with kids who are heavily gaming. You know, brains are wired differently. You can see that on CT scans. So taking away the device isn't going to solve that. Having dialogue about it, informing people, having conversations, helping our students be better monitors of their own usage and the impact, those are the things that are going to make the difference.
Great point.
All right, so now we're on to our 4th theme, which is essential life skills. So once again, communication. Lots of frequent informal and formal practice for different audiences. Something that we can continue to work on is balancing emotional support with the challenges of presenting especially, and increasing frequency with broader shifting audiences.
Isn't that the #1 fear in the United States, is public speaking?
Yeah, so we've been trying to just kind of think about, like, where's the line between emotional support and where's, like, letting, like, them be avoidant. It's a tricky balance. So that's something we got to keep looking at. Digital literacy, kind of relevant to what we were just talking about. We have competencies related to this, so research competency, technology competency, and there's frequent informal and formal practice with a wide variety of tools and platforms on our one-to-one devices. We have a technology integrator as a resource. The library is also a huge help with this. Our room for growth is that a lot of teachers are saying that they just feel like they need more time to learn about the tools, preferably with colleagues, in order to teach them and use them effectively. So yeah.
I'm sorry, what's that word, SCOIR?
SCORE. It's the way students, we send our letters of recommendation to colleges.
Okay, thank you.
So the third one is financial literacy and household management. The feedback on this one was that it primarily lives in the facts business in senior wellness classes, but it shows up in small ways in other departments. And a room for growth is to just make the experience more consistent for all kids, which also connects back to what we've been doing with ED 306. And the fourth one is goal setting and planning. The way we do this is through assignments that require this and providing students with the tools to do it, such as weekly agendas, outlines, feedback. And something, once again, that we can work more with is more independence, having students set their own goals, chunk the work on their own, have some mandatory reflection and revision. That's come up a couple times throughout multiple parts. So any questions on the essential life skills part? So this is the last one, community engagement. There are various events and projects across all departments. Some of those are listed up there. Overall, there's a desire for incorporating this more into summatives, but fitting it into schedules and course frameworks and finding time to create partnerships is the biggest challenge. The other descriptor is sustainability. This shows up in some course content, reusing and recycling when possible. There's been some sustainability groups that have been formed recently. And an area for growth is more course content integration. So with community project creation and impact, with project creation, we have a focus on process over product with bounded choice, so that it's specific enough to provide clarity, but not so narrow that students don't have like choice or creativity. So that's something we do well. Something we could improve on is more support with, we could help students better balance independence and being comfortable with the feelings like anxiety that come with lots of choice. And we could also implement more community outreach components to existing projects. But once again, time and collaboration would be needed to make it meaningful. Then ethical decision making and civic engagement. This is embedded in courses through content and instructional strategies. Research and ethical research practices are explicitly taught multiple times throughout their time in high school. And an area for growth could be increased discussion and instruction in ethics, maybe even a formal debate competency somewhere. All right, so that's it for the 5 themes. So.
Sure. Okay, so as I mentioned at the beginning, you saw that chart that sort of described how many staff have so far contributed to this data that we're sharing with you tonight. So we are going to continue to offer this audit as part of our embedded PD process in Tri-2, which our first rotation in Tri-2 begins when we come back from the holidays. And we'll have 2 rotations, and again, we're going to gather as much feedback from our staff through embedded PD as possible, but that certainly just captures our teaching faculty and our service providers. So we want to make sure that we're capturing feedback from everybody in our building who provide educational opportunities for our students and connections with our students. So once we do that and we've captured enough information about this audit, then again, we can take a step back and look a little bit, dive a little deeper than we even did tonight and say, okay, this is where we're doing these things well. These are the built-in assessment processes and data that we can gather from those things that are already in place, and we'll continue to monitor them and beef those up as possible. But we're gonna really analyze how we can incorporate those missing pieces into our current school growth plan so that we can continue to work on and implement more strategies so that we are beefing up the areas that we feel like we need some work on. And then as we continue down that road, to answer the question that you as a board had last year was, how are we going to make sure the students are engaging in these activities? It isn't a simple, like, one rubric is going to give us an answer for the entire portrait of a learner. What I hope you gather from this information is that there are so many variables within our portrait. We have a very complicated and robust portrait of a learner, which is really incredible piece of information that we gathered this from all of our stakeholders. So we want to do it justice, and we want to make sure that there isn't just one size rubric that's going to tell us how we're doing. The point we want to make is there are multiple ways to interpret and report out on how we are doing with these descriptors within the portrait. And we are going to continue to do that as time progresses, get better at it, and then find ways to repeatedly, share this information with you as a board in our community. And then, enroll this out to students as well. I would just add, I think, we're in the place where we're saying, here's how we set the table, right? And here are some of the things we put on the plate, and where we want to be is what are students putting on their plates to make sure that they get all of the, if we want to think of it, the 5 food groups that we've identified here so that they're walking away with those skills, right? And it shouldn't be, right, the adults are going to continue to set the table, and the adults are going to continue to have offerings from all the 5 food groups, but what we really need is for every student to walk out, right, with a healthy dose of all of those 5 components so that they are ready to go out into the world meeting this vision that we've identified.
That's a good way of putting
but
that,
it is
yeah.
personal, right? It's not going to look the same for every student because we don't all need the same helpings of mindsets and academics, right? We need different things because we're individuals.
Well put.
I noticed on one of the slides something about service to the community, and that there's no requirement for kids to volunteer in service to the community. Is that something that we could explore as a board? Offer potentially, even if it's not mandatory credits, but maybe optional credit for hours worked in the community?
Absolutely, and students can do that through ELO already.
Okay, I didn't realize.
And students are recognized for their community service.
Participate, but a large
Yeah.
number of students do have community service, so we keep track of this. I can get those numbers just to provide some reference as far as who does it and how can we expand it.
All right, and that would, what a powerful statistic that is. Winnacunnet students have donated 30,000 hours to the community. I'd love to tell that story. Thank you, Bill.
Years ago, didn't we have to have a community service hours? Weren't there mandatory ones for seniors to graduate? Years ago.
senior sim, that was the component of the senior sim.
Oh, okay.
It would be nice to, I agree with you, I would love to have it as part of the curriculum, that it's just, you know, in your 4 years, you have to volunteer so many hours.
Done
You know what I mean? 'Cause we used to have it on the, because I know it would be, it came out from guidance or somewhere, that it was like, hey, there's volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, we
But anyway,
definitely still
still
do
have
that. We manage we do manage sort of a running list of ways to contribute to your community. Deb Kraft does a really great job of organizing that, and we document and we keep track of the data around students and their community service hours, and then we recognize those students yearly and ongoing throughout the year. There are pockets of requirements if they're a part of a club or whatnot, but it's not, obviously, as you know, it's not a graduation requirement like some schools have. But we have a lot of students who engage in community service.
Yeah, and there was one, I was reading one where they wanted to give kids credit for PE credits for helping in their, in the, community, you know, shoveling driveways or mowing lawns or something like that, and they were getting credit for, you know, it was community service, they weren't getting paid for it, but they were getting their PE credits satisfied, you know, rather than taking a class.
Interesting.
They could do that. So there are ways, especially when we want to tie the school and the community together, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gotta somehow feel that they owe their community as much as they get from their community. That would be lovely.
We do have a huge population though that volunteer, and they're amazing, so.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Great. Well, thank you for the time.
Very helpful.
Good.
Thank you so much. That was really beneficial to see that.
I turned around, I thought Leslie had left.
All right. Communications committee update?
Nope, no update. They
Okay.
Yep, you can skip right over me. See you
It's
in
like,
minutes.
that's it?
Fine
Okay.
with us. Let's keep moving.
Yeah. Legislative update?
The New Hampshire School Board Association hosted their legislative preview session today. I did not attend that, but they did send materials out. So if you registered, those materials are available. It is going to be a busy legislative session. There are, I think, 200 plus, maybe almost 300 bills that are being followed that pertain to education.
Thank you both.
We know that there are bills forthcoming again this session regarding statewide open enrollment, regarding SAU consolidation, and regarding community tax caps. So those are just three that would have significant impact for our communities, and I would just encourage people to kind of stay tuned. We will have that opportunity at the end of January to meet with legislators, but the School Board Association's materials will give you a good sense of kind of what's coming.
26, 27 warrant articles.
So as Matt mentioned earlier, you've now adopted the HVAC proposal, so we're going to ask you to re-vote on that warrant article because we have a new number for you, which I,
Says the library.
497,000.
We also have a revised number for the library redesign. We were able to join a national procurement bid, so that didn't actually go out to bid, but that did come in a little lower than what we'd expected.
Way to go.
Yay. Thank you.
I'll make a
Strategic
motion.
sourcing at work.
I'll make a motion to reaffirm the 2026-27 warrant articles, library redesign in the amount of $192,698, and the HVAC upgrades in the amount of $497,581.
Okay, I'll second that. All those in favor? Thank you. Next is, I just got knocked out, so hold on, you guys.
Sorry, so I think
That's
I think
okay,
that's
I'm like,
it,
yeah.
other than
Yeah.
reviewing future meetings, and then we will need a non-public session.
Okay.
Do you want me to read off the
That would be
meetings?
awesome, thank you.
The
Yes,
meetings? Okay.
please.
Winnacunnet Budget Committee Review, I'm assuming they don't need that?
Correct.
Tuesday, January 6th?
That's correct.
Okay, because they approved it. SU 21 Operations Committee meeting Wednesday, January 14th. WHS Budget Committee public hearing, Wednesday, January 14th. And the next Winnacunnet School Board meeting is Wednesday, January 21st.
Thank you.
Didn't I hear that there's a policy meeting January 6th?
Yes, that'll be January
Yeah.
6th instead of, because there's no longer a need for a budget committee. That's right, policy
We like
chair.
that. Yay. Oh, there it goes. Now,
All right, now we're gonna go to non-public session.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion for a roll call to enter non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2A at 7:36 PM.
so we'll, a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call. Desiree Potter.
Yes.
Leslie LaFawn.
Yes.
Nicole Seco.
Yes.
Tricia O'Keefe.
Yes.
And Tracy Williams.
Yes.
Okay, non-public.
Thank you.
When is our deliberative session?
February.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.